I've got a quarantine update, a coronavirus quarantine update on my 1984 Honda VF500F Interceptor. Been doing quite a bit on it. It's been a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's easily the most complicated thing I've ever touched. So far, I've had to kind of Frankenstein 2 sets of forks together to get them to work correctly. The old one had a broken circlip inside of it, which basically involved having to drill holes and destroy it to be able to put it together. So I've Frankenstein these together. I've got new stainless steel lines up top. The calipers, both fronts and the rear, have spent some time in an ultrasonic cleaner and ended up needing new pistons on all of them, new seals and everything. So those are on there now. Carburetor on this is this is what I'm currently fighting, and I'll get to it soon. But basically, I've rebuilt the entire carburetor, separated every piece out of it. That took an ultrasonic bath as well. New intake boots. A big thing I did on this bike that was pretty intimidating to do was do the valve adjustment, and I had super tight valves, like dangerous tight valves. So it was a really good thing I did it, because it was, you run it too much longer like that and it was going to start breaking valves and grenading an engine. New spark plugs. The exhaust has been an issue. This is a aftermarket Vance & Hines, and basically the downpipes from 2 and 4 back here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. The back ones. It kind of falls, screws up alignment, and obviously I've got rusted. I took off a lot of this paint. This is all going to get ready for paint pretty soon. Rebuilt the master cylinder on the brakes. Didn't rebuild the master cylinder on the clutch, but I did rebuild the slave cylinder on the clutch. That I had to do. I realized that it was actually losing the fluid under it, and I was about ready to go. So it was a good thing I went in and did that. New valve cover gaskets, new battery. I need new coil wires if I could find a place to buy them. This one and this one are bad. Basically the boots on them are bad. Haven't done anything with chain and sprockets yet, because those are actually still fairly new, and I'll get to those once I get some of the other mechanical things figured out. Stainless steel line on the rear, rebuilt that caliper. And what else do we got over here? I cannot get this kickstand rubber out. I'm pretty furious about it, because I got a new one. Take that bolt out, it should pop right out. I can't get it out. It is so hard in there. I left it in a fucking ice water bath, thinking I could, I mean, it was good enough to knock out the Challenger, right? Was it the Challenger that crashed? Why am I forgetting? Yeah, no, Columbia crashed on the way in. Challenger crashed on the way out. Anyway, I can't get this rubber out. Someday I will. Haven't figured out how to put a bump stop on the exhaust yet for the center stand. So the center stand is likely going to have to come off at some point, but while I'm fixing it, it's just so damn useful. Stainless steel Allen bolts all around here. I'll do the other side once I have reason to open that up. And then I'll show you what my issue is right now. I have a super high idle. Don't know why yet. Seating a V4 carburetor is super tricky to get it into there, you know, in that V shape. It's a bitch. So I'm idling at like 3,500 RPM when I'm warm, and that's not good. I had gotten all set up to synchronize, and I realized I'm not even close to being able to sync it, because, well, I need it running right first. I got the air fuel mixture screws all set to 2 turns out, which is stock setting. However, I did find that I don't have the stock jetting. Stock jetting, this bike runs richer on the front than the rears. So I think it's 106 fronts, 102 rears, and I found I have 104s all around. Now that's not causing this issue. This is an idle issue, but it was just worth noting. The bike ran perfectly fine before I started doing this, so I don't think there's going to be an issue with those. It just means I don't think I have the stock needles either. So I took the air box off because I wanted to observe and make sure that I don't know where the flashlight is. Basically, that my throttle, if I pull up one of the slides, that my throttles were fully closing. Just so, like, if it was hung up or something by bad routing, which I did several times, I routed it incorrectly, like it wasn't, like, you know, staying at not closed. So let's start it. We can take a look at it, and see what it does. So that was a no choke start. So right now it's at like 600 RPMs. I'm gonna wait till this gets up to temp. And now I did just loosen all of my boots. I loosened all of my boots and I was running around with starter fluid trying to chase an air leak. And I think there may have been an air leak on this one. So I kind of reseated everything. So I'm gonna let this run for a little bit and then it'll come back and we'll see if I made any changes to it. So we're up to temperature now and I've still got this high idle, but nowhere near what it was before. It was surging up. I was idling at 4,000 before. See, we got heat in the engine. I was idling at 4,000 before, and now a warm engine's idling around 1,900. I think that might have to do with, I probably found the air leak there. This is a strategically placed piece of paper, because I noticed a ton of water was coming out of here before. I wanted to make sure that it was water that I was seeing. Where do I keep putting my fucking flashlight? Obviously it sounds fucking awesome, but I got to get the idle down to 1,300. I've got the air fluid mixture screws. They're out 1 7/8. I just adjusted them in a bit to see if leaner would help. You can see I'm actually probably, I might try to go richer or just keep playing with it. But if my synchronization is way off, you can see now I'm at about a 2,000 RPM idle. If my synchronization is way off on this, I may have 1 or 2 carburetors where the throttle valves are staying open quite a bit, so it's like it's constant choke. Here we go. So my idle, as this thing is getting warmer, is continuing to climb. So I've got to figure out what that issue is, but I'm pretty happy that I've at least got it running, because it hasn't run in 4 years, and I forgot just how fucking good it sounded. So I'll keep plugging away, but I'm encouraged it's running. I'm not encouraged that the idle is continually moving. So out of curiosity, I set up my carburetor synchronizer on here, and what I did is I took out the sync port screws and I put in these extensions on 4 and 3 here, and 1 and 2, and then I used on the vacuum operated petcock there is a port here for number 1, and I just started this up and the idle's way fucking higher, so it's almost like I'm not getting a good seal on these. There's a little rubber gasket. I don't know if they're losing anything, but I'll show you. And the synchronization as it reads is way off, as I expected, and I've been trying to cobble together this fucking V4 engine. I cannot figure out a good way to get to the sync screws, so I don't think I can do the synchronization now, because I haven't figured out a tool to do it. But let's take a look. Back to that 4,000 RPM red line. I'm gonna put the sync port screws back in and see if I just caused an air leak by doing this. But as it ran there, they're all off and it requires a synchronization. All right, just pulled the sync screws off and put the, well, I pulled the extensions off from the synchronizer, put the port screws back in. Let's see how different it runs. Another change I made was that I put that air filter on. So we were just idling at 3,800 RPM, and I put that air filter on. Let's see if I take it back off what it idles at. Air filter off. Let's see what happens. That's more like what it should be. Filter is, ooh, my issue is with that. issues with the air filter. I got some research to do. Why would that cause that big of an effect? The air filter drives up the RPMs 2,000, 2,500, from 1,500 RPM to 4,000. I don't know, this will be just like the fucking Bandit trying to figure this one out. But anyway, that's where I'm at. Gonna keep working on it. Thanks for watching.